Hello, and welcome to Rearranging Equations with Abby. So, before we begin, let's go through our purpose. So the purpose of rearranging equations is to ultimately find the unknown variable, whether we're isolating for variable x or delta e. We always rearrange the equation so that we have our unknown variable on one side. So the rules are as follows. First rule is that the right side must equal your left side. So, exactly what it states. Whatever you have on one side must equate to the other side. Rule number 2. What is done to one side must be done to the other side. So, if I happen to subtract 8 from one side, I must do the same to the other side. It refers back to rule number 1, where the right side must equal the left side. And our final rule is that when taking a variable or number over to the other side, always reverse the sign and do the opposite. So I will be explaining that later, but as of right now, we'll start off with something simple that follows rule number 1. This will be example number 1. So let's start off with 4 over x equals 8. Now, first we must make sure that our right side equals the left side. Now, 4 over x is equivalent to 8. But how do we prove that? In order to do that, we need to isolate the variable x. So we'll start off by multiplying 4 by x. So 4 over x times x equals 8x. Now what I did there was, since I multiplied my left side by the variable x, I had to do the same with the other side. Multiplying x and 4 over x would eliminate the fraction, giving me 4 equals 8x. Now I need to isolate the 8 from the x. In order to do that, I will divide that side by 8 and divide this side by 8. Therefore I get 1 over 2 equals x. And to finalize that up, you should always try to end off with your variable on your left hand side. So I will go ahead and erase that really quickly, and it will be x is equal to 1 over 2. X happens to equal 1 over 2. Now, if we want to go back and check that, we will have to sub in x for 1 over 2. Now, 1 over 2 is equal to x, so we go 4 over 1 over 2 is equal to 8. Now, whenever you're dividing by a fraction, you can always multiply by its inverse reciprocal. So, the inverse of 1 over 2 would be 2 over 1. So, I could go 4 times 2 is equal to 8. 8 is equal to 8. And that is our simple example number 1. Oh, we're rolling! Hello and welcome to example number 2 of rearranging equations. So, for our second example, we will do some multiplication and division. So, we will start off with the equation y equals mx plus b and isolate for the variable x. Now, whenever you're isolating, you will always want to do the simplest equation or part of the equation first, which is the addition right there. So in order to do that, we will subtract b from that side and subtract b from the other side. So b cancels out and it would be y minus b equals mx. Now, with the last step, we will need to isolate m from x, moving m to the left side, joining y minus b. In order to do so, we will need to take m and divide it from the right side, and also do the same with the left side. So, mx over m equals y minus b over m. The m's will cancel out, and therefore your equation will be y minus b over m equals x. Flip it, and now it becomes x equals y minus b over m. And that is how you isolate a variable through your different rules, and also using the opposite function. Hello, and welcome to example number 3 of rearranging equations. In this one, we will experiment with brackets. So, our equation will be y equals k x minus m, and we will be isolating for the variable x. Now, in order to do this, you can see that whatever is in the brackets is being multiplied by the variable k. And in order to cancel that out, you can do two possible things. The shorter one, and the easier one in my opinion, is to actually divide everything by k, canceling both of them out, taking y over k, and giving you just x minus m. So y over k equals x minus m. Now, you take the negative m, you add m, cancels out, and you add m to that side. So y over k plus m equals x. Now, the reason we did that is because if we go back to rule number 3, when you are taking variable or number over to the other side, always reverse the sign and do the opposite. So instead of negative m, it became positive m. Now, that is one way of doing this example. The second way would actually be multiplying into the brackets. Now, to do this, you would take the variable k as just being erased. So you take the variable k and multiply it into x and m. So y would equal kx minus km. Now, this is called expanding because we have multiplied it in to expand our actual equation. Now, to isolate those, we divide that all by k, divide that by k, and we fall back into the same steps that we were in before, giving us x minus m. Now, our shortcut, instead of actually writing out the plus m, you can just immediately flip it into the left side. So y over k plus m equals x. And that is example number 3 with brackets. Hello, and welcome to rearranging equations, example number 4. Now, out of all the possible functions that we could get for BEDMAS, we have done subtraction, addition, multiplication, division, and brackets. All that we have left is exponents. So, how would you solve for exponents? Let's start off with the simple equation of ax squared plus f over e equals b. Now, in this one, as usual, we will be solving for x. First things first, we want to try and get rid of this fraction. And to do so, as we've learned before, you're going to have to do the opposite, which is multiplying. So let's multiply this side by e and this side by e, giving us ax squared plus f equals be. Now, another simple step is to take away that f and bring it onto that side. So positive f, the opposite of a positive f is a negative f. So we would get ax squared equals be minus f. Now, to get rid of the a, we will have to divide that side by a, and therefore we have to divide the opposite side by a as well, giving us x squared equals BE minus F over A. Now we get to the exponent. In order to get rid of the exponent, we must square root it, depending on what it is. If it is a square root, then we must square the equation. If the equation is squared, we must square root the equation. Now we get x equals square root of BE minus F over A. And just to make it a little bit more cleaner, this would be our final answer. BE minus F over A.